It's 6 o'clock, August 19, 2013. It's time to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Mr. Overfeld, we have a quorum, correct?
Yes, sir, we do.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members is present, that this meeting's been duly called, and notice of this meeting's been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time, if you'd stand for opening ceremonies. First, a moment of silence. Now the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Better than a quorum, huh? Good thing I showed up.
You'll notice from the agenda, item 4, recognitions, there are no items. Item 5, public hearings, there are no items. Number 6, board members report, there are no items this evening, so that takes us right to agenda item 7, reports, and there are several. The first being A, presentation of Right Choices for Life by BCFS, Baptist Child and Family Services, Mr. Valdez and Ms. Raquel Fausto Rodriguez presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, Dr. Rios, members of the board. I'm here this evening for consideration to approve 2013-2014 Scholastic Year Right Choices for Life Abstinence Education Program partnership between BCFS and San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District. Baptist Child and Family Services will partner with SFDRCISD to implement the Right Choices for Life abstinence education program to 7th and 8th grade students in the district. The purpose of this program is to educate youth ages 12 to 18 about abstinence until marriage as defined by Section 510, subsection B2 of the Title V Social Security Act, 42 U.S.C. 710B2 for adolescents, with a focus on the groups which are most likely to bear children out of wedlock. Also, to focus on the social and psychological and health gains to be realized by delaying initiation of sexual activity and engaging in healthy relationships. At this time, I would like to introduce Raquel Rodriguez and Raquel Torres, who do have a short presentation for you.
Good evening. I'm not used to speaking in front of a microphone. I'm Raquel Fausto Rodriguez, and along with me is Raquel Torres. She'll come up and talk a little bit about, we actually have a very short activity for you all, just to give you an idea of what the curriculum would entail. Where is the PowerPoint? You should each have a blue folder in front of you. The PowerPoint presentation is in a handout format in case you want to follow along if you're not able to see the PowerPoint up here. Mr. Valdez briefly touched up on what the purpose of this federal grant is. It is a federal grant to educate youth age 12 to 18 on abstinence until marriage. The program plans will focus on the social, psychological, and health gains to be realized by delaying initiation of sexual activity and engaging in healthy relationships. I felt it was important to give you a bit of statistics. These are national statistics. I won't go through them because you have those in front of you in a handout format. But what I do want to focus on are the local statistics for Val Verde County. Although they are based on 2008 and 2010 reports for Val Verde County, those are the most recent ones that are available. I'd like us to focus on the birth to teens, age 13 and 19-year-olds of all life births. The statistic for Val Verde County is 18.7, and the statistic for Texas is 13.6. That is a significant number. Births to single teens of all life births, ages 13 and 19, 15.1% to 11.3%. Again, a significant percentage. Births to mothers age 17 or younger of all life births, 5.5% to 4.3%. And of course, our pregnancy rate for teen ages 13 to 17, 26.8% to 21.4%. BCFS also has a program called the STAR program, which is Services to At-Risk Youth. And this program has been with us for about 14 years now. And we do see a lot of teen parents, teen mothers, and teen fathers. We do locally partner with the Cradles program at the high school. And we go in and give them just information on life skills, positive youth development as well. A bit of a history of BCFS. BCFS was founded in 1944 in San Antonio as a home for orphan children. It has grown into a global health and human service nonprofit organization. We're located all over Texas, around the country, and 4 continents, so we're pretty big. And if you get a chance later tonight or maybe tomorrow or during the week, I would recommend that you visit our website, www.discoverbcfs.net, and you will see how large BCFS is and how much assistance we provide to many individuals in need. As you can see, we provide a lot of programs from mental health services to international humanitarian aid to community-based service programs such as ours. The history of BCFS and the school district, we used to have Right Choices for Life, which is what we're reapplying for again. Back in 2006-2010, we were able to go into the 7th and 8th grade campus with the consent of the parents. We did utilize the Choosing the Best 8-week curricula, and it was delivered to 7th graders through their history class and 8th graders through their English class. The latest evaluation report, and we had an evaluator, Dr. Profit. He conducted a survey with the students, a pre and a post survey with the students, and what we found was for that year in 2010, there was 1,335 total youth served. 93% of students simultaneously recognized that abstinence is the best way to avoid sexually transmitted diseases, and the staff reported that the program was successful and much needed, and that was for RCL, Right Choices for Life. And then just recently we had the HEART program, which stands for Healthy Emerging Attitudes and Relationships for Tomorrow. And this program focused on dating, violence, and healthy relationships. We provided this service to 8 counties: Crockett, Dimmitt, LaSalle, Kinney, Maverick, Sutton, Val Verde, and Zavala. So we were very busy. 12,419 6th and 8th grade students with parental consent completed the program through PE and history classes using safe date evidence-based curricula. We also raised awareness to 9th grade students in the community via the Choosing Respect Action Kit. Both the RCL and HEART program were very successful, thanks to the partnership of the school district. Okay, I was missing a slide, but my last slide was what does it entail for our school district? Our program is at no cost to the school district, first and foremost. The educators or the facilitators will be trained by BCFS, and they will have to go through the week-long training in order to be certified to facilitate. Our facilitators also have to follow the school policy code of conduct, and we provide all the supplies, the materials that the students will need. And ultimately, our goal here tonight is to get a letter of commitment, to get your approval for us to go into the school district and really focus on abstinence, healthy relationships. And Ms. Raquel Torres, would you, it won't take us but 5 minutes. I know you have a lot on your agenda. 2 minutes. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to move this really quick. If I can just show you guys, I have a board, 2x4, 4x4, I'm not sure, with a nail on top of it. And usually when we talk to the youth, in a lot of our groups, whether it was the HEART program or in the RCO program, we like to use experiential facilitating. So when we show this, and we've tried this with parents as well, when we show this to the youth or parents, we ask them, is there a way that by looking at this, are you able to balance these 12 nails onto this one nail? And a lot of times, we have parents and youth that look at it for a while and tell us, no, there's no way. There's no way, and they give up right away, including parents. And so what we do with experiential facilitating is we like to show the kids, obviously, to think outside the box, to work as a team, because we will do that with RCL. They will work as a team. And as you may know, when a lot of people come into the table, a lot of people have different opinions, different ideas. So that's what we want to do with the RCL program. We want to show them different alternatives, different, instead of just saying, no, it can't be done, we want them to say, you know what, there is a place, there is a way that this can be done. And I'm not just going to say no right away, it can't be done. Let's see if I can do it today. No, it can't be done. We want them to think, yes, it can. So with the RCL program, when we tell them, can you balance 12 nails without touching it, letting it go, we want them to say, you know what, it can be done. And with the RCL, we want to show them different alternatives. This can actually signify, we've used it with peer pressure, we've used it with stress, we've even used it with a community. If you think about it, this could actually be one child with a decision, with one problem, but with 12 different alternatives to finding 12 different solutions. Or it could be one child holding so many things, walking around with lots of decisions that they have to make, lots of problems every day, school, gangs, drugs, whatever you want to put it as a community or peer pressure stress. But that's what we want in the RCL program, to show them that there are different ways to doing things and different solutions that they can come up with. So that's an example of what we do with experiential facilitating. I'm right here. She should have given everyone a little set. That would have taken forever. Anyhow, I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate your support. And if you don't have any questions, then I will sit down.
Questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You're providing the facilitators. How qualified are they?
They all require a bachelor's degree, and then they have to be certified to teach the curricula.
And I noticed that elsewhere, the program was presented through PE and history. And are we going to do it here through the English and
I think
History?
that will
Is
be.
that your decision, or?
No, that I will then meet with the principal, and then the principal and I will figure out what is the best solution for us to facilitate, to go and facilitate. That is not my decision.
And when the facilitator comes in to train over there to discuss, are we going to know ahead of time as to what the curriculum looks like?
Absolutely. Yes. I will provide that.
And it's 8 weeks, but how long a period are you going to take?
I'm sorry, sir?
You were saying that through an 8-week, the best 8 weeks of the year, I would say. How long is the period? How long will the facilitator?
They're usually, I know that with the HEART program and with the RCL program in the past, it only took about 45 minutes. And again, it just depends on the period, and it depends on how many students, because I know that with the HEART program last year, for example, when we went into the 6th grade campus, we were able to just go, was it once a week? Once a week as opposed to twice a week.
You go to each one of the classes, or you group them?
No, we go to each class. So we are looking at 3 facilitators, so that means there's 3 facilitators in prospective classroom.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else?
Yes.
Why did we do away with the was it RCL?
RCL, our federal government did away with those type of funds,
Okay, so
and so now they re-release the funds,
oh, great.
so we're happy.
And this question is for Dr. Rios. How do we accommodate such a class?
I have a lot of experience in this area because the program was in place when I was a principal at Del Rio Middle School. And it works really, really well. At the time, we picked a class that didn't have testing, state mandated assessment, so that we wouldn't give up that instructional time. So we picked 7th grade Texas history at the time. The principal and Dr. Garza will have to confer on that decision to make sure that we select the class that will have the least amount of impact on accountability and just the overall process of the campus. But it worked really well. They're a very organized organization and collaborated with the staff easily. So it really is, it doesn't pose a distraction to what we do on a daily basis, and I certainly give them my endorsement.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Brings us to the next report under agenda item 7, notice of grant award for NCLB. Michelle Smith, Director of Federal Programs, presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, Dr. Rios, members of the board. I stand before you tonight to present our notice of grant award for the 2013-2014 NCLB grant application. The amounts are as follows. For the Title I, Part A, Improving Basic Programs, we have $3,570,954. For the Title I, Part D, Subpart 2, Delinquent Programs, we have $28,900. For the Title I, Part C, Migrant, we have $1,010,161. For Title III, Part A, LEP, we have $158,533. And for the Title II, Part A, Teacher and Principal Training Certification, we have $640,011 for a total of $5,408,559 for this grant year. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Ms. Smith? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda item 7C, notice of grant award for IDEA B formula and IDEA B preschool. Dr. Deanna Aguirre presenting.
Good evening. We did receive notice of grant award for IDEA B formula and IDEA B preschool. For IDEA B formula, we received an amount of $1,518,993, and IDEA B preschool, the amount of $47,962, with a total of $1,566,955 for this year. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is 7D, notice of award for Head Start grant. Linda Guanajuato Webb is not here, so Ms. Valdez will be presenting. I think you probably told me that, right? And I forgot.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, Dr. Rios, board members. The notice of award for the Head Start grant is in a total of $2,059,159. It is just $4,000 short of what was submitted in the initial grant back in April. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 7E, district webpage notices and social media. Mr. Casillas is presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian and Dr. Rios, members of the board. We just want to update you a little bit on our district webpage. And It's, our webpage is now 4 months old. And at your direction last year, we wanted to bring in a cleaner image, something not quite so busy, that was more functional. And so slowly but surely, it's been growing. We have some people that are assigned to it, to periodically update. We have a lot of really nice features that are part of it. And Mr. Luna is going to be assisting me with another part of it, that he also has been very busy with the social media part of it, which I think is relaying a lot of information. So as you'll notice, as it scrolls down through, we have a lot of local pictures, and we had the one-to-one initiative, that is coming up. Today we were out there unpacking 800 laptops, doing the configurations. The librarians were busy tagging them, and we put those up. We also have the board meeting videos. Mr. Luna has been converting those, and we put them on Channel 39, and we've been posting them on YouTube. And you can see which are the ones that they like to see. As you can see, we had what was it? There was some that were on here. I think one for August that had a lot of views on it. And then, of course, we did the graduates with a theme song and all of that. So this is all part of our growing media awareness for our webpage. We're putting a lot of information. The headlines here will be changing this as activities start up for the school year. We also have another events here that's tied to a calendar. And so we just schedule them, and then they rotate on a regular basis. We have a lot of media here that is relevant to students, to parents, to the community in general. We will be updating our accountability, and we also have our calendar that has been filled quite a bit. And we have for August and September a lot of important activities that are going on in the district, and people can just click on the actual name, and it brings up the calendar, and you can see these are all hyperlinks with detailed explanations of what those are. So we've done quite a bit of work on this, and for being only 4 months old, I think we have a really nice and attractive webpage. We've gotten a lot of compliments from it. It's very much a part of a reflection of our district, and we take a lot of pride in it. And with everyone's patience, we will continue to build on it and make it that much more meaningful. I think we also put the district goals on here, so that's on there too, and just a lot of other information. Just really nice and attractive. And do you have any questions on this? And then Mr. Luna can do his part.
It looks really good, and I think it's a good example of, where we started 6 months ago, 8 months ago, as far as priority and a goal. I think it's way better than what was there before. I'm just a little curious, so I'm going to kind of veer into micromanaging, so forgive me. So, as far as individual departments like HR and curriculum and the others, is there a process to periodically, monthly, every 3 months, whatever, for them to sit down with you or someone in your staff and review to make sure things are current on their part?
We're trying to set that process this year, because what we wanted to do was put everything for all the various departments. And look at how many departments we have, and everybody
Right.
has things that they want to update. We have 3 people that are periodically working on it. Mr. Luna has become very adept at it. My webmaster, a young lady that's working, Erica, and Cheryl is going to also be very involved. And then Mr. Koji, one of our resources in the classroom, is also very, very good with webpage development. So he's going to help us with the campus level, because now teachers are returning. They want to have their own classroom webpage. And yes, absolutely, the departments need to update everything that they have. And we have just so much that I know even Mrs. Pond, Cheryl, is doing her own thing over here, and she's creating her own ideas for technology, for instructional technology, putting a lot of things that, just wonderful things that it just going to grow so that much more. But we do intend to have That's why we have one person dedicated as a webmaster to work with the departments and the campuses and to keep it posted.
Because that'll keep
updated.
it
Yes, sir.
clean and.
Yes, sir. That's the
And
idea.
I'm glad you updated the board goals. I guess that was something I noticed, but it's done, so good.
Okay. Mr. Luna?
I'm sorry.
Ms. Lozano has a question
No, I just
for,
wanted to say,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Castillo and Mr. Luna, thank you so much. It looks amazing.
Well, you were part of the committee, so we appreciate your input. And I think Amy was also part of that.
It looks
so
really good.
She gave us color schemes and things, so we're working on it. Okay, Mr. Luna?
Thank you for the compliments, and we are tying all three of our units together. We're tying our website to the Facebook, to YouTube, so no matter where you're at, you can bounce back and forth to each of the sites. And, by doing that, if you look at About Us, you can go to our board meeting videos, and that'll take you straight to our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel, again, Mr. Casillas touched on that, and after your meeting tonight, I get a file in my Z drive, technical, and we convert it by tomorrow noon or sooner. You can already watch it on YouTube. So, they are available to the public, and they are, open. They're open meetings. So we do have the SFDR channel, and we're also tying everything back to Facebook.
That's the one I hear a lot of positive comments about is Facebook.
Well, we are down 35.2% from last week, but we have a lot of growth and a lot of gain on here. When we talk about growth on Facebook, our numbers are phenomenal. We're growing and growing. Just today, we took a simple picture of Lamar Elementary, just the frontage, just the front picture, and we have 1,699 people that saw that picture. And me and Mr. Casillas were at the campus, we were walking out. Mr. Limon said, hey,
People out there do it.
Mr. Limon said, hey, I need a picture of my campus. So we took the picture, and wow, we got a lot of views on that just today. And of course, not only that, but today was a busy day for our Facebook page. We went to Walter Leverman Stadium this past Friday, right after the game, and we took some photos of the stadium. So there's our scoreboard, there's the logo, there's the stadium. We're able to access some of the tower. So we took some photos, but we do have them up there. Today, we ran into Dr. Garza Delro High School, and he said, hey, don't forget to go by the gymnasium, take some photos. Well, today being the first day that the teachers returned, we went campus by campus, and we visited each campus. Mr. Casillas was there next to me the whole time, and we took photos, plenty of photos. So if you have time, scroll
First
through
day
our
of-
photos,
Return for the teachers.
and we have every campus, everybody's on here, and they're just candid photos. People working, people presenting. But we have had great amounts of views on this. But Facebook is on fire. We're trending.
There's a
We're
lot of
trending.
energy. We saw it as we were out there. There is so much energy out there with this planning protocol.
That's amazing, thank you.
And we do reach out to parents. We do have the system where they can ask us questions. And they do, and we reply as soon as we can with the information that they're requesting. A lot of times they're requesting school supplies, orientation schedules, bell schedules, and we reply. And if we don't know the answer, we take a screenshot, forward it to the principal, and await their reply and reply back. We also, we have not locked down the ability for people to reply to our comments, to our posts. But look at this one here. Lamar Elementary, great teachers make awesome students, purple and gold for life. So we have people that reply to our photos, it's great. It's great. And we do have filters on there for obscenities and everything else, but we do have our filters, but we are watching comments, and we invite comments.
Great job.
I think we had all the board members, but some board members got a lot of likes.
During the month of July, things slowed down. We can go back down. The event last weekend at HEB, we were called over to the HEB site and take some photos of the Fill the Bus event. So we have some photos up there of the event. Of course, you can click on the event, and people like those photos. Very personalized. planning protocol. And here are the schedules, back to school. Just right before we got to the meeting, Miss Brianna Moraida called and said that they were having an event at Rogelio Musquiz Park tonight. So, she sent me the snippet, and we posted on here. Dr. Fermin Calderon will be hosting a picnic in the park, and we've had 835 people view this in just 2 hours. So this is a great, great avenue to post information. It's effective.
Good job.
Well, we don't wanna, I don't know what you said, well, it's a lot of fun to do this.
It's a lot of fun.
We're having fun, okay?
No, that's awesome. Communication is great.
Is the Twitter feed still active, or did we shut that down?
No, we haven't been doing the Twitter.
Are we going to?
It's fine.
It's fun.
It's up to Dr. Rios, it's his direction.
We'll look into it, sir. We have a report by next board meeting.
Okay, any questions?
Oh, just thank you. It was great.
All right, thank you. Okay, appreciate it.
Agenda item 7F, San Felipe Del Rio CISD 2013 Accountability Ratings. Dr. Garza presenting.
Well, I'm having fun too. Tired, but we're having fun. Mr. Garabedian, Dr. Rios, members of the board, thank you for being here. I'm going to present here the accountability for Texas, the Texas Accountability System, and I'm glad to say that all our schools met expectations this year. Also, the district met expectations. You have this in your packet. I'm not sure exactly how you want me to proceed with this, but I will tell you there is 4 indexes now in the state accountability that will rate every single school and district. Index 1 is student achievement, Index 2 is student progress, Index 3 is closing the achievement gap, and Index 4 is post-secondary readiness. You can see there that in Index 1, student achievement, the standard was 50, and if you go down the line, those are the scores. I will tell you that 2 of the schools came close, which is Dr. Fermin Calderon was at 59 and the standard was 50, and North Heights was at 58 and the standard once again was 50. Index 2 is student progress. This did not come out till about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they were waiting for all the scores from the state to actually set the standard. It was the 5th percentile, and they do divide them by elementary, middle school, and high school, so to make sure that high school doesn't compete with elementary school. So the 5th percentile is divided that way. As you can see, the elementaries were at 30 index score, and all the schools were pretty good except Fermin Calderon at 35 and Ruben Chavira at 31. Now, what this means is a growth. They calculate what happened last year, and then they calculate what happened this year, and they want to see the growth. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but in a nutshell, that's what they're doing. In Index 3, it's 55. One of the schools that was closed was 59%, with 59 was North Heights Elementary. And Index 4 is just for high school and 9th grade. And they did pretty good there. Any questions? Yes, sir. When you're talking about in Index 2, growth from last year, this year, let's say, we're talking 2012 to 13 versus 2011 to 2012?
Yes, sir. They get the
They're
scores.
not predicting 13, 14?
No,
Okay.
no, they're getting the scores. So let me just give you an example. They get the scores from 3rd grade reading for the student and 4th grade reading for the student, and they compare both, and it's either did not meet expectation, meets expectations, or exceeds expectation. And that's what they're getting. The following year is going to be the scores from 2013 and compared to 2014.
And the rating index there is, if I mean this correctly, 5% improvement, correct?
Which one, sir?
For index two?
No, index two, that's saying they're getting the 5th percentile of all the elementary schools in Texas.
Okay, and right above it where it says 5%, index, does that mean like an improvement of 5% from one year to the next?
Right, no, sir. Actually, that's kind of misleading.
Mhm.
What we're trying to tell you there is, in order for them to get the score and for them to achieve success, in other words, meet the standard, they need to be above the 5th percentile
Okay.
for all elementary or middle school or high school.
But, if I may, all they do, sir, is they rank all of the elementary schools from the lowest achieving to the highest achieving for that particular index. The bottom 5th percentile will not meet expectations and go into school improvement. So it isn't about a 5% growth, it's just about being in the bottom
Okay.
5th percentile, and then you don't make it. None of our schools were in that bottom 5th
Okay.
percentile. Did have one school that came 1 point close to it, that was Ruben Chavira, but none of our schools were in that zone.
Any other questions on that template? Okay, from there, there was some schools that got some distinction notices. Buena Vista got academic achievement in reading. Dr. Lonnie Green also in reading. Lamar Elementary got top 25% in student progress and academic achievement in mathematics. Chavita got academic achievement in reading. Del Rio Middle School is the top 25 student progress. Del Rio Freshman, academic achievement in mathematics. And Del Rio High School, top 25 student progress. Any questions? No questions?
I don't think so. So, a year in to kind of a renewed focus on curriculum and instruction, right? We have a clear idea of where we are. So the planning protocol is going to push us forward. That's where we are at this point.
You know, I was very impressed with those pictures there, and like Mr. Casilla said, there was a lot of energy happening today, a lot of energy. And we've been talking, these people back here, I'm sure they're extremely tired too, but they're working very hard to roll out this planning protocol. And today was a very critical day, making sure that those instructional coaches and the leadership team presented this information to the staff, and I could not see anything negative. There was a lot of conversations. There was great energy going on. So I am very confident that this is going to even make us better this coming year.
Good. Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next report is 7G, Beginning Teacher Induction and Mentoring Program Update. Dr. McNamara and Marty Rodriguez will present it. Marty will present the entire time? Okay. Ms. Rodriguez will be presenting.
No, I didn't put it in. I was told I had less than 5 minutes.
No, not less than 5 minutes.
Okay, well, I said fast and
Someone will
furious.
start the clock.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Mr. Garabedian, School Board. We're now into our 6th year of the BTIM program. You have in front of you the results of the last survey that our mentors, beginning teachers and principals took in April. The overall results were very positive. We had 100% participation from all 3 groups. Some of the things that we did, we also included the things that they were doing in the 4 domains, and the teachers worked real hard with preparing the beginning teachers for the evaluations that they were going to have with the principals. Most of our mentors were really matched perfectly with our beginning teachers. We still have the problem of having to
have some mentors travel to other campuses to be mentors, basically in the fine arts department. They wanted more release time to observe other teachers on their campuses or at other campuses. We had to, because of budget cuts, we had to do away with our observation days. The principals were very good about allowing teachers on their campuses to go and observe other teachers on their campus. The principals showed a great improvement this year of working with beginning teachers. They were more receptive to me coming on to the campus and meeting with them and planning with them. And so I think that that relationship is a lot better. It also talks about the components that were used on the Scaffolded Solutions program. We basically use the activity log and we use the assessment component of the website so that we can see how our teachers are progressing and so that the mentors can develop action plans on where they have to focus on improving the beginning teachers. We communicate with our beginning teachers through newsletters, through emails, through face-to-face contact. We have meetings. All of that was very positive with the beginning teachers. We didn't have very many concerns. The only concerns were, again, that they wanted more observation time. They want to be able to plan. They have more planning time with their mentors, and that's going to help this year now with this new planning that we're doing. They want, okay, that was it. For next year's plans, we're going to do the same thing. Oh, they did want more classroom management training, and they want more staff development in their core areas that they're teaching. And we are going to do, this year, we are providing classroom management training throughout the year as needed. We don't pull them out of the classroom if we don't need to. The only time they're pulled out is if they're new and mentors have to be trained before they can become a mentor. What else? We have a new component from Texas A&M that's called PACT, and it is a website with oodles and noodles of resources for the beginning teachers, and you have that attachment in your packet also. But it allows beginning teachers and their mentors to choose resources off of this website to help them in different areas, from setting up their classroom to how to hold parent conferences, how to start a child study. It's got all kinds of things. It also has, if a teacher is wanting to get certification in another area, there's modules on this website that they can use to help them prepare for taking the test and to get certified. In the back of your package, you also have the list of books that we have provided to the campuses. You have a list of the books that are in our BTIM library, plus the DVDs on it. And you also have a list of the books that we're going to be presenting to the elementary teachers and the secondary campuses this semester. And aside from that, we had 83 beginning teachers last year on our list. We had 50 first-year teachers. We had 33 second-year teachers. So far this year, we have 28 first-year teachers and 45 second-year teachers. So we're 10 short of what we had last year at the end of May. Are there any questions?
Overfeld has a question.
Not really a question, but a comment there. It's a great program. I've heard some good things about it. I wish it had existed when I first started there, because I know how difficult it can be coming in as a first-year teacher, and everything you learn in college, you know, in the ideal world there, and then, okay, here you go. It's two completely different things, so I applaud you for the work that you've been doing with that program, and I'm glad to see it continuing.
Thank you.
Dr. Keyes?
Dr. McNamara, and through all my years on the board, I remember an Achilles heel that we had here initially was turnover rate for within the first couple of years of the profession. has this made an impact there, you believe?
Yes, definitely.
So we see a reversal of the turnover rate?
To what extent?
The only ones, that we lost 5
I have a
this
question.
year.
I have a question. To what extent? It's made a difference. To what extent?
To a reduction of the teachers that are leaving the field due to not feeling supported. Marty does an awesome job, and so do the principals in supporting our teachers. Most of our teachers that leave are due to spousal transfers, not because they're unhappy in the profession or don't feel supported.
So do we have numbers, like what Dr. Keys is saying?
Yes, sir, Marty does.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers with me here, but I can tell you that since I've been with the program, we have only lost 2 teachers to go to another profession, and we lost 5 this year due to transfers with their spouses, either in the military or in the Border Patrol. And there were 2 that wanted just to be closer to home.
Dr. Keys, because that's what, I'm wondering if I'm thinking what you're asking,
Yeah.
right? If what the
Either the profession,
attrition
because I know
rate was.
transfers with the base on Border Patrol, that's pretty much a gimme. But it's more of satisfaction within the profession. And I see a big turnaround with a program like this. We didn't have this before,
Yes.
and there was a lot of people that would say they're lost. And now, you say you have the library also now,
Yes, sir.
which is very impressive. And access to the resources
Yes.
and the help they need. And as Mr. Overfelt said, when I was a teacher, I wish I had something like that. I mean, lesson plans were like way over my head, my first year teaching. And now they have a point of contact now. It's important.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Chavita?
I'm sure that from your survey, you're gonna make some changes, I'm hoping. And the reason I'm saying this is because I noticed how often did you meet, your questions, how often did you meet with your mentor? And, once a week, only 44% of the time. The other one's 62. And of course, as you go down, even less. And then the other thing that I was concerned about was that what strategies that the mentors used. And actually, from your survey again, like the modeling instruction, all that type of thing, more time was spent in talking to them. So, maybe we need to make some changes on that where the
Most of the time, a lot of them
demonstration
have,
that does it more
exactly.
or hands-on, and I can go on, but I'm hoping that some changes could be made.
The
Because I
principals
think
are
it's a good
really
program.
trying to help the mentors. A lot of them did not have the same conference time, so it was difficult to have a meeting time then. They would have to meet after school or before school.
And that's what I'm saying,
Yes,
that we need to make some changes and tweak it a little bit so that we can have more time with it, so it makes a difference.
it
I mean, a
does.
real big impact. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Is that it? 4 minutes?
I think this was someone has one more question. It's a popular subject.
Yes, Ms. Rodriguez, on page 34, well, I don't know if that's, what were the concerns expressed at the end of the year by the beginning teachers and mentors? Number one, I've heard that before, getting special population students more dispersed among other classes.
Yes, ma'am.
How is that issue being addressed?
When I have a beginning teacher that will tell me that she feels she's overloaded with those special pops, I will go and talk to the principal, and then we will look at who's in there and see if we can make any changes. And they've been very receptive to moving students.
Because I have heard that in new teachers, they have expressed that they feel sometimes they get the more challenging students. So I just wanted to see what we could do to
Challenging.
evenly disperse.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure it's not easy, but, sir,
It's definitely doable.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good. That brings us to agenda item 8, the consent agenda. And, of course, it indicates very clearly what's on the consent agenda. Ms. Valdez indicated that we were striking, I'm sorry, I didn't make a note of it. I know we were taking something off totally.
Yes, sir, under contracts over 5,000, number 2.
Okay, so to be clear and for the record, under contracts over 5,000, item 2 is taken completely off the consent agenda. So that's not a part of it. Does any board member wish to pull any items from the consent agenda for discussion? Mr. Overfield?
Under H, second reading and adoption of policy revisions, I'd like to pull part 4.
Okay, we're going to pull under consent agenda H4 for discussion. Anything else to be pulled? Okay, to make it very clear, what we'll do in a moment, I'll ask for a motion for the consent agenda, knowing that G2 is struck out, and we're pulling H4 to discuss and possibly vote afterwards. Everybody clear? Yes? Okay. All right, so is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda, save and accept H4? Mr. Overfelt has motion, Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries. So, at this time, consent agenda item H4, consideration to approve the second reading of policy update 97 affecting local policy DBAA is open for discussion. Who will be answering questions? You, Mr. Salinas? Okay. Well, wait till the discussion. Okay, Dr. Rios.
Okay, I'll start. On the DBAA local concerning employee issues with criminal history checks, there we have that one section that already goes in, talks about policy considerations. And then I guess the newer, or this is what we're proposing to put in. All right. And it goes in all the different individualized assessments, et cetera there. Several things. I'll start with one. What if we do hire someone after this assessment there that would have, their past would have triggered this? Are we required legally, or is the district required to send letters to the parents of that particular individual saying the person that is teaching your child has done this, this, or this? Is there any legal standing on that, or?
The answer is no, because before we hire anybody under this policy, they would have been entirely cleared by SBEC. The state would have informed the district through the certification process that that individual is clear and can be hired. So there would be no other legal requirement for the district. I will extend on this a bit. We will have if approved, we will have a process, and our legal counsel for board policy, which is TASB, provides some direction on what procedures the district can take to fully vet out the candidates. Now, having said that, in full disclosure, I'll tell the board members that procedure that we will then follow, if approved, that's not board approved. That's just something that we will implement based on the TASB model. But that part will not come to the board for approval. It's not a requirement.
So the assessment that would be used to assess an applicant with a criminal history, that's purely administration, right? That's what you're saying as far as the context.
Yes. Now it's not required that the board approve it, but
Right.
I'll fully present that to the board if and when we come to that point.
How many districts, and maybe we could just kind of surf around on the internet, have passed this local policy in our neighborhood? Eagle Pass, Uvalde, Bracketville, Comstock?
No, this policy came up as part of Update 97. I'll tell you that we are on time in processing this, but this is fairly new for other districts. Now, having said that, maybe some of them have gone through the first reading or even the second reading, and we can make some calls. Now, it usually takes some days for TASB to upload it onto their website. So even if we went by and looked at every district, I don't know that we would get a full reading. We'd probably have to make some phone calls on that side. What do we, Mr. Salinas?
That'd be correct, but we could ascertain that here shortly after further discussion with our TASB policy.
Because I know in the update, or whatever, Vantage Points, whatever this thing is called, it references that this actually began because of EEOC guidance,
That's
not
correct.
direction, guidance, April of 2012. And I remember last summer, I believe it was last summer, there was kind of the beginnings of an update of sorts. I think another administrator gave it, and it just didn't go anywhere. So this has been for like a year, kind of in development, right?
That's correct.
The EEOC basically is saying that the legal policy in place for DBA is not adequate. That's what the EEOC is saying?
That's correct. And that's clearly stated in the Vantage Points for the board members. And it basically says this local policy is recommended for inclusion in the district's policy manual to address updated guidance issued by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, April of 2012, regarding the role of arrest and conviction. They're basically saying that a district may not refuse to hire a person who has been convicted of an offense listed in state law or local policy unless the district has determined that its decision is job-related and consistent with business necessity.
And that's where the assessment comes in.
That's correct.
That we're discussing what it might look like or not look like.
And since this is federal, they're saying it trumps state and local. And so we have to have that in place in order to be in compliance with the EEOC.
Is there a timeline in place by?
Not that I'm aware of, but
I'm
that's a
sorry.
good question.
Specifically, what timeline are you?
Well,
referring
like
to?
he says that the EOC is saying that we have to have it in place, so we have to have it in place by January 1st?
I'm not aware of a timeline, but that's a very good question to ask, and I will find out.
If I can make one other point, Mr. President.
Okay.
I guess what I would share with our Board of Trustees is that I would encourage you to remain cognizant of the fact that before we hire anybody with some kind of felony conviction, there's a couple of things that need to happen. Like I said, SBIC has to have cleared them and qualified them to be able to teach. That in itself is going to be a big hurdle. If we look at the points, it's very clear that anybody who has anything to do with a child will not be cleared for certification. If there's any type of higher criminal activity, SBIC, in their guidance, they recommend, and I'm not saying that's what our local policy is going to look like. I will definitely put a committee together to agree on what that policy is going to look like, what that testing procedure is going to look like. But TASB goes as high as recommending, I believe it was 10 years, Mr. Salinas?
As part of the administrative regulations that we're now reviewing in order to prepare ourselves for this, one of their recommendations is that if it's occurred within the last 10 years to disqualify them.
Now, again, that's a TASB recommendation. We would come back and discuss that, whether 10 years is appropriate, 5 years is appropriate, 3 years, but there's a couple of tests that the individual has to pass before they can get hired with us. And those are two very important tests. They have to be certified by SBEC. SBEC isn't going to certify anybody who should not be in a classroom with students. And then we ourselves are going to set a timeline as to how far removed from the actual conviction that individual has to be removed in order to be hired. And this would pull us in compliance with their recommendations. Now, we can postpone it, we could table it if y'all deem further discussion. Sir?
I was going to make a suggestion. You were asking, and pardon me for interruption, so that you were saying their timeline. I don't think so, because the only issue, if the issue comes out, then we interpret it as such. The issue not being on, so we have all the time in the world. So I would say, and I'm sorry that I interrupted, but I just wanted to point it out. You were asking about whether we want a table, and I guess it would be the best thing to do.
The only thing that might create is that it opens us up for an EOC complaint.
But we
I'm
could,
sorry, what was that again?
It'll open us up for an
Okay.
EEOC
so we're
complaint.
not open to an EEOC complaint as of now?
Well, we are, but especially even more so now that the EOC has come out and said that it doesn't matter what your state or local policy says, or even more so. And so that's why TASB Legal is saying to districts across the state, you need to have a local policy that addresses that EOC issue. EOC is not saying that they're going to force local school districts to hire a felon. What they are saying is that you can't do it unless
You have an assessment in place.
that you've determined that the decision is job-related and consistent with business necessity. That's all they're saying.
The other thing, Mr. Chairman, is that I'm okay with the discussion that was discussed by our superintendent. I think we're okay. By the time we make a decision, it's going to be either he's in line to be hired or not.
And legal and local, legal, of course, says notification to SBEC is required, and so it's been included in local also, to remind us, local policy, you need to notify SBEC.
Well, I think there's really two paths, like with Mr. Chavita and Dr. Rios and myself, we're going to say that certainly it can be tabled for further reading, right? To the next available board meeting, individually, people can talk with the superintendent. They are recommending approval, everybody knows that from the consent agenda, so we can vote on it that way. So, okay, Mr. Overfelt has motioned to table to the next available regular meeting. Is that what you're motioning?
Yeah, motion to table next regular available meeting.
Okay, is there a second? I second. All in favor by a show of hands? 1, 2, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, unanimous. So we'll table it, bring it back to the next regular meeting. I think
Yes,
there's
sir.
enough discussion to keep asking, especially about the EOC, given that it's been out there for a while, but now suddenly if we don't pass it tonight, I think there's more questions.
Very
I
good.
think,
We'll
I
bring
think
it back.
We need to talk about it a little bit more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Okay, that took care of the consent agenda completely now, right? Agenda item 9, citizens to be heard. Ms. Falcone, anybody sign up? No? Okay. All right, before we move on, 10, as is the custom in the consent agenda, there were donations to the district. Who would like to do the honors and recognize the donors? We've been sharing that.
Do you have a list?
Well, it's in the packet.
I was hoping there was a smaller list.
to be a nice, neat donator sheet, but not anymore. It's okay, he'll find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. It's right there.
Alrighty, so, donations under, item E there, track and field, boosters, $50 to Delray High School Robotics. Life Touch in the amount of $274.26 to the Del Rio High junior class. Del Rio High School Varsity Cheer Boosters Club in the amount of $4,600 for the Del Rio High School cheerleaders. Central High School, $300 to Del Rio High School boys basketball. Mr. Rebecca Mancha in the amount of $10 to Del Rio High School cheerleaders. Texas Athletic Productions in the amount of $825 to the athletic department. And that's where mine ends. Can I get it there? Summer registration.
Yes.
High school, yes.
Thank you, and we thank all the individuals that made donations to the district. Okay, agenda item 10, administration. A, consideration to approve superintendent evaluation planning calendar for 2013-14. I'm going to present this one. Dr. Garza, can you help me to project something on the screen? Might be helpful to see it up there. It's on this flash drive. So.
TASB resource?
No, not that one. There should be one that says soup eval dated today. Do you see it? Yeah, okay. This is just so you can see it on the screen, what's in your packet. Now, what are we trying to do? We know obviously that as a board, right, there are several key things that we do. One of them is hire the superintendent. Something that goes along with that is the evaluation of the superintendent. So what I've done, and we've actually started this process, what I've done is I've put together in a very neat, I think, concise way, following very closely TASB, Leadership TASB's recommendations. That's why Dr. Keyes will tell you it looks familiar, of a planning calendar that charts out month by month where we go with the evaluation process. So what I'm asking you to consider is simply to agree to the calendar. This will keep us on track. Like, for example, if you look, and it's a little bit, I guess what they call retroactive, is that May 2013, that's when we had our workshop, which is required for the board goals and the vision statement. That's really step one, team of 8 training, we've done that. And then in June, we adopted the vision statement and district goals. We did that. In July, I know I asked individually if you still had the performance goals booklets. We got those last year. And also ordered and distributed to you a TASB publication related to superintendent evaluations. So that's kind of like your informational guide. This month, I'm asking you to look at this document, this calendar, and decide if we want to adopt it. If you look at policy, it's very clear how this is to be done as far as superintendent performance goals, whether or not we use the commissioner's process, which is oftentimes recommended, and we'll get to that in the very near future. What I'm asking is the calendar, that this is the path that we'll follow. Like this month, we can look at the policy. We're looking at the calendar today. Next month, we'll have a workshop of sorts, or perhaps during the regular meeting, really at the discretion of the board, to adopt the superintendent's performance goals. Because as you know, according to his contract, and even in policy, although policy is not as clear as the contract, the performance goals are a key component of the evaluation instrument. So Dr. Rios will be bringing those for us to consider after he and his cabinet finish with them. We'll act on those like we did kind of as the preliminary a year ago with Dr. Ackerman. Those will be in place in the near future if we follow the calendar by September. And I also would recommend at that time, once we have those goals that we agree to, Then we decide whether or not we use the commissioner's recommended process, and we can actually create, revise the instrument at that time. We need to put that in place, agreed upon long before the actual summative evaluation. And then month after month, things that might be applicable, superintendent and board in October discussing possibly type of progress reports they might like to see as this goes further. November, if there's training on Dr. Rios's end that he would need to complete, that'd be a good time to do that. About 6 months into his first year will be December. And by any best practice standards, whether we follow the commissioner's process or another, that's when you do a formative evaluation, which is informal. Doesn't involve an instrument. It's a discussion in closed session about how things are going, if things are going according to plan, that sort of thing. Early next year, we'll make sure that we've had as a board the required training for superintendent evaluations. Region 15, and I went back and forth with them about this, said that our team of 8 training was sufficient according to law. I think there might be a way to do it more sufficiently, but I'll leave that to the discretion of the board when we get to that point, if we want to follow, something a little bit more specific, because by then we'll have an instrument in place, the goals will have been adopted, and so on. February, to actually nail down a firm date for when that summative evaluation will take place. Mid-spring is usually the time the board begins to see some preliminary results as to what testing has looked like. Perhaps we might have another survey. Certainly there's data out there to see how the district is doing and Dr. Rios and performance of his duties. April, I would envision distributing blank evaluation forms, the instrument, copies of his contract, a table of some sort that shows what area superintendents are being paid and what their contracts look like, that sort of thing. All of that you would get about a month before the summative evaluation, which would be in May, a special meeting to conduct and adopt it, and that would be a consensus summative evaluation, which is something else that Leadership TASB speaks very clearly about. And to do that by the end of his first contract year, which will be May 6th, 2014, because an evaluation goes on a yearly cycle. I know the district, and Dr. Patty, you'll have to help me a little bit, I know the district, for all its other administrators, they set an actual evaluation or appraisal calendar, right? Certain start date, certain end date, that's an entirely different instrument, but this is following something clear. Now let me pull something up, Dr. Garza, I need your help again. If you'll minimize that, because, and go back to the disk where and there should be, would help if I could see, there should be, something else I saved. It was actually, what does that first one say, Dr. Garza? The very first one?
TASB resource super.
Okay, click on that, please. Okay, copy that address. And if you will take us to that page. Okay. If you scroll down towards the bottom, there should be a sample calendar that TASB provides, and that's what I patterned ours after. You should find it somewhere, George.
This one?
I think so. We're asking the guy who can't see the screen. Okay. This is what TASB gives us as an example, okay? And so this is what I followed very closely, using our dates and our tendencies and where we are as a district. So this, is something that, like I said, follows best practices. This is where you start. I don't want you to think that I thought all of that up by myself.
Very similar.
On that same page, Dr. Garcia, if you would close that and go back to that page. On that same page, there's lots of resources about superintendent performance goals, about the commissioner's his suggested process for evaluating a superintendent, that it have a goal-setting session, a formative evaluation, a summative evaluation. It gives an example of a possible instrument when we get to that point about adopting an instrument. So this is really the kind of the best place to look. Leadership TASB and TASB, I guess, as an organization, put this out. So questions about the proposed superintendent planning calendar? Do I have a plan to follow, Mr. Chivita?
Just, my congratulations to you. We never had a problem like, a calendar like this. We've seen it a lot of times, but we just don't follow it.
Well,
I'm glad that this is done, and I think Dr. Rios will be looking forward to it.
Well, this,
And the thing about it is that we know exactly where we come from, and very especially him, because he's got to know. We don't want any surprises on him, and but it's great. My congratulations to him.
and if we follow it as closely as we can, there'll be an evaluation instrument in place by, say, late next month, right? We'll be able to sit down with his goals, agree on the instrument, how we do it. I'm partial to how the commissioner does it because that's considered the best way to do it, but that's a discussion we'll have. It also tries to tie this process to a larger planning process, what we call in higher ed institutional effectiveness. And I've looked at what was done before and what wasn't done before, and this is really, I think, the best way to do it. The calendar's the first step. You're not really committing to an instrument or anything, or even the goals yet, because we haven't seen them, but that we're going to follow this to its logical conclusion within a year's time. And you will notice it's in early May, because he started, what was the date, Dr. Rios, May 6th?
6th, approved on April 30th, started May 6th.
You remember exactly, okay. So, you know, it fits neatly that year. I would also point out, I don't want to drone on about legalities and policy and everything, but, you know, you cannot go past 15 months without an evaluation of a superintendent. There have been some issues in other places before, and I'll leave it at that. This follows very neatly a better process. My recommendation is that we adopt the calendar, and then we follow it as written, and it'll take us logically through the necessary steps. Any other discussion, comments, or questions?
Looks good.
This is kind of what I do for the college, only it's for units and divisions and things like that, as well as personnel. Not superintendents, but fits kind of neatly. Okay. All right. If there's no discussion, then I so move that we approve the superintendent's evaluation planning calendar for the 2013-14 year. Is there a second? Ms. Lozano has a second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries. Okay, that takes us to agenda item 11, curriculum and instruction. A being consideration to approve the 2013-14 dual credit partnership agreement between Southwest Texas Junior College and San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Dr. Garza presenting.
Once again, Mr. Garabedian, Dr. Rios, members of the board, this is a usual time that we come to get this dual partnership agreement approved by the board. It has not changed much from last year. The thing that changed last year was that all tuition fees will be paid by the district, including books. So it's the same process. We're doing the same thing this coming year. We do have courses that are being offered at the campus level at Del Rio High School, but we also have courses that are being offered across the street at the actual Southwest Texas Junior College. Are there any questions?
Have we increased the number of?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We increased the numbers last year drastically. A lot of kids are signing up this coming year, so it's the same thing. I don't have the exact numbers this year because we have not started, but the numbers did go up, sir. We still have some time to go, but the numbers did go up.
If I can just add something, the course offerings have increased dramatically. I don't have numbers either, but I look at them area-wide, and as far as where the district was in terms of being able to offer dual credit, what it was offering a year and a half or 2 years ago and to what it is now, it's dramatically increased.
Thank you, sir.
We could get a report sometime.
Yes, sir, I sure will.
For that.
Sometime in October.
Right.
Other questions?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the dual credit partnership agreement with Southwest Texas Junior College as presented. Allow Dr. Rios to sign the agreement and pay the invoice when due.
We've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. Haynes has motioned. Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That brings us to agenda item 12, Facilities and Operations. A, consideration to approve the first reading of revisions to CDA local policy. Mr. Salinas presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, Dr. Rios. The revisions to our CDA local policy are being recommended to more clearly indicate that the CFO is designated as an investment officer of the district, and to remove certain investment instruments that are not being used by the district as have been recommended by our investment advisor. Under separate cover, you did receive the side-by-side policy reviews. And the three approved investment instruments that are being removed is number 4, number 5, and number 6.
So there's no Ponzi schemes in here?
No, sir.
Questions? No questions? Okay.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of revisions to CDA local policy as presented.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt has motion. Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries. And the next item, Mr. Salinas, item B, which is consideration to approve first reading of revisions to FNF local policy.
F&M local policy, we've added several pages to it for the mandatory drug testing program that we'd like to implement in the district. It's an existing policy with part of page 2 all the way through page 6 being brand new. And those revisions are being recommended to more clearly indicate which students will be subject to the random drug testing, which will be those students that participate in school-sponsored extracurricular activities or those that request a permit to park a vehicle on school property. In addition, it clearly outlines the purpose of the random drug testing and how the district will communicate this policy to parents and students. It also covers how the random drug test results will be used and which drugs the testing lab shall test for and how the drug sample shall be collected. Moreover, the added policy revisions cover the consequences for refusal to test or tampering, as well as confirmation of positive results. The policy revisions also cover the appeal process the students and parents shall follow if they choose to appeal a decision made under this policy. And I want to make a note that on page 5 of 6, right here where it says for 30 school days, we want to make a revision to that and say for up to 30 school days. And then we want to strike out the 30-day where it says after this. So it'll just read after this suspension. And the reason for that is that the student driver, that 30 days was in conflict with the first offense, which calls for only 15 days. So we wanted to change that. The second offense calls for 30 days.
Ms. Salinas, I just want to remind Ms. Valdez out there to make sure that we made the suggestion last time, that we color code all those important things that we want to make sure that the parents sign it and they have read it, because we don't want them to come back, especially to Ms. Valdez.
Yes, Mr. Valdez?
All this sort of thing.
Yes, yes, sir.
Even though ignorance or whatever the law says,
Yes.
you know, it's still in effect, but it's
They're
important
working.
that they read.
They're working on all those regulations and guidelines to make sure that this is properly explained to parents and students.
Other questions for this first reading of policy, FNF? Ready for the recommendation? Okay, the recommendation.
It's the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of revisions with the noted changes to FNF local policy as presented.
For the recommendation, I so move to accept. Is there a second? Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor, by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brings us to agenda item 13A, being consideration to approve Valverde Appraisal District budget. Ms. Valdez presenting.
Good evening again, Mr. Garabedian, Dr. Rios, board members. The appraisal district has approved their 2014 budget, and the governing bodies have until today, August 19th, to approve or disapprove this budget. The budget packet was included under separate cover, and what is included in the overall budget is a budget of $1,039,990 with 38 cents, but it is a reduction to the 2013 budget of $40,235 with 84 cents. Now, on that last page of the package that was included under separate cover, you would see the approximate allocation for the school district. But Ms. Sheedy is here if you have any questions.
Questions on this item from Ms. Sheedy in particular? She's here in attendance.
Salaries up here, I noticed that the scale increase for employers based on Valverde. I sure would like to see that step increase that you have. I never seen it.
Are you talking about the compensation
On
plan?
the salary increases. And the other thing that I was looking through your budget here, I noticed that on your contract professional services, it was 47,000, went up to 58,000. That's about a 23% increase. So
Right, we have a company that's going to be doing a little more work for us. They're going to be doing our commercial appraisals, so that I could move my commercial appraiser over to residential to assist there.
it's a good increase. That's it. I was just wondering why the changes on it. And the reason I'm saying is because every year we go over, we approve a budget, and then, anyway, since I've been here, and it's been put to good use, but I sure would like to see a more balance.
And just on the compensation plan, you're wanting to know what percent increase that is? Is that what you're
Yes, I
wanting
was
to know?
asking that, why would it increase?
It's a 1.25% increase on the compensation plan, and then a 1.25% cost of living has also been applied.
Yes, but then I ask you about professional services, and why did it go up 23%?
Right. And that's the outsourcing of the appraisals,
The commercial portion.
the commercial.
Besides, that was in addition to whatever they were doing before?
Right, before they were doing studies on the market value of the agricultural properties.
discussion? Want to do it? Want me to say it? Recommending.
Mr. Garabedian, Board President, members of the board. The administration recommends approval of Val Verde Appraisal District's 2014 budget to be adopted tonight by the board.
Okay, we've heard administration's recommendation to approve the Val Verde Appraisal District budget as presented. Is there a motion? Mrs. Lozano has motion, Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by show of hands? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Agenda item 14A, consideration to approve 2013-14 Right Choices for Life Abstinence Education Program Partnership between BCFS and San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Dr. McNamara presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, Dr. Rios. Earlier this evening, Raquel Frosto Rodriguez and her partner Raquel Torres presented to the board an informational presentation on the 2013-14 Right Choices for Life program. It is a recommendation at this time of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the partnership with Baptist Child and Family Services as presented and allow Dr. Rios to sign the letter of commitment.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt his motion, Ms. Haynes his second. All in favor by show of hands? It's unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 15, which is technology services, but there are no items for this meeting. So we're now on number 16, closed session. It's now 7:33 p.m., August 19th, 2013. And the Board of Trustees will recess this open session and convene the closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. Specifically, we're able to do that under 551.071, 551.072, 551.073, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, and 551.084. Specifically tonight, pursuant to 551.074 is discussion of personnel or to hear complaints against personnel. First being discussion of personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. And 2, discussion of salary adjustments to include the following justifications: master's degree, change in contract days, certification/licensure. All final votes, actions, or decisions will be taken in open session. We're now in closed session. Okay, it's 8:30 p.m., August 19, 2013, and the Board of Trustees will now reconvene in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. No action was taken in closed session. We're now reconvened into open session, agenda item 17, and the items we may act upon include the first, A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations. Dr. McNamara.
Thank you, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, Dr. Rios. At this time, the administration recommends the following personnel for your consideration this evening: Mr. Jose Pettis, reading specialist at Del Rio High School; Ms. Angelica Santos, ELA teacher at Del Rio freshman. Additionally, we have the following 4 recommendations: Ms. Elizabeth Maldonado, migrant counselor for our federal programs; Ms. Heather Gibbs, occupational therapist for our special ed department for the district level; Mr. Timothy Grange, assistant band director at San Felipe Memorial Middle; and Ms. Imelda Wynn, our mathematics teacher at the Del Rio High School ACAP program.
We've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Chavita has motioned. Mr. Overfelt is second. All in favor by show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you.
It brings us to agenda item 17B, consideration to approve salary adjustments to include the following justifications: master's degree, change in contract days, certification/licensure. Dr. McNamara?
Yes, Mr. Garabedian, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. At this time, the administration recommends that Ms. Rosario Schaefer be awarded a salary adjustment based on certification.
We've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Ms. Lozano has motion. Mr. Chavita has second. All in favor by a show of hands? It's unanimous. Motion carried.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda item 18. There are no items. No superintendent's report. That brings us to 19, adjournment. Being no further business before this board, is there a motion to adjourn?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Mr. Orfeld has motioned. Is there a second? Ms. Lozano has second. All in favor by a show of hands? Unanimous. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.